You're about to meet the most happily retired person in the world. Pam Lovett has dedicated years to making an impact on this community, especially for women and families, and she's still supporting organizations like the Rose. Even after stepping away from this board, she is going to be there right by our side. In this episode, Pam talks about why passion and preparation matters for board members. She also talks about how connecting with others leads to lasting change. And most of all, she talks about what it takes to keep a mission moving forward, no matter what. If Pam's story sparks an idea or reminds you of someone making a difference, share this episode with them. Every listen helps us reach more people and keeps our mission alive. Learn more and support us at therose.org. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Pam, thank you so much for being with us today, and I think you have self-described yourself as the most happily retired person that I've ever met.
That would be correct.
Oh, my goodness. How long have you been retired?
3 years.
That long already?
It goes by in a snap.
And you are busier now than you ever were.
I am immensely busy, but life is full and exciting, and hopefully I'm still making an impact.
Oh, definitely making an impact. Pam, you have been part of the philanthropic community for a long time and have supported so many different organizations. But for the Rose, I don't know if you really realize you brought our first luncheon inside the loop to us, and we had it at the Junior League. You were our sponsor, and you had all these great ideas about what we could be doing. And then you stepped back and said, okay, y'all do it. And I went, Pam, where are you? But that started our luncheon, which has become our signature event. And
look how it's grown.
It has grown. It has absolutely grown.
A sellout this year,
yes,
which was fabulous.
It was. It was such a good year. And Pam, you were a friend of the Rose long before you ever became a board member, and certainly a friend to me. Yeah. And I kind of hated losing my sounding board when you became a board member because, it changes. That is one of the things that a lot of nonprofit EDs or CEOs really look for, somebody on their board they can trust and can share those things that you don't always want to share. So how many different boards have you been a part of?
Oh, my. A lot.
A lot.
5 right now.
5? Oh, goodness. Are they all involved with women's care or?
They're not. My most recent is I was elected to the vestry of Palmer Memorial Episcopal Church. Uh-huh. The Junior League is, like the Rose, involved with women. DePelchin, though it is involved with children, it's involved with families and support. So, so women and children are a big part of what I'm passionate about.
And what do you think is the most important thing a board member can do in their role?
I think, Dorothy, that a board member needs to come with passion for the organization, come prepared for every board meeting and committee meeting. I think they need to be aware that it is not just the skill, expertise, and experience that they bring to the organization, but it's the friends that they can help broaden the base for the organization. I think that it is realizing, we say it often at the Rose, but the distinction between a board member's role and a staff member's role. We say it all the time, but board member's role is noses in and fingers out. And a lot of board members, if they're not experienced in board service, want to get into the managing role rather than the governing role. I think that realizing that all kinds of diversity is needed on a board. It is skills, it's background, it's education, it's the networks that one has. There's a person who I think we both know who I think very mistakenly thinks that she's been invited to be on boards just because of her skills. But one needs to bring all the things we've just mentioned, but financially support the organization as well.
And this is one thing I learned early on. If that board member doesn't want to support the organization in a substantial way, and it does need to be substantial, then they cannot ask for the organization. When you've given to it, then it's a whole lot easier to ask a friend or make that connection for the CEO or whatever. You have to have, what is it?
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Yes, that's exactly it. So now, Pam, I know you said you didn't want to talk a whole lot about you, but that isn't going to happen. Tell us about where you're from, your education background, and what you thought you were going to be, maybe.
I grew up in Batesville, Arkansas. It's kind of Mayberry. It's a small town in northwest Arkansas. Grew up in a loving family, and community impact and service was role modeled for me all my life. My mom was always homeroom teacher for at least one of the three of us, if not two or three at a time. A leader in the junior auxiliary and the church. And so I had a wonderful, supportive environment. All of our teachers were teaching because they wanted to be teaching. They knew us. They knew our friends. They knew our siblings. They knew our parents. And so it was a very supportive environment. Went from there to the University of Arkansas, and my undergraduate experience was phenomenal. Thought that, I've done all this stuff in high school. No, one volunteer experience leads to another. So became tremendously involved at the university. Had the privilege of being president of my sorority there. Was recruited from undergraduate school. Had all intents of going to graduate school then, but was recruited by AT&T to come to Houston with the wisdom of a 22-year-old. Said, if I don't like Houston, I'll leave. Don't like AT&T, I'll quit. And here I am all these years later.
Oh, my.
Went from AT&T to, was recruited to be president of economic development at the Greater Houston Partnership. And then was recruited by one of my economic development advisory committee members, the CEO of Sterling Bank, to join his team. We were then acquired by Comerica, and it sounds like a disconnected career path, but it all fed on one another.
But all fed on connections. And who you met, and that is so important in today's world. We cannot talk enough about networking and just staying connected with other people. Yeah. So I was thinking about, as I was looking at some of the things, of course I've known you so long, but it was like, how did economic development become the bank where now you're in charge of all of the charitable giving, or is that what it was called? The community affairs.
People asked me what I did at the bank, and I said all the fun stuff, which I really really did. It was business development, community affairs, employee engagement, and in diversity. So it truly was all the fun stuff, but it was all about connecting our bankers to the community, connecting them to their clients and prospective clients, and using the philanthropic dollars we have to make a difference in the community.
And certainly you did. So what brought you to, how did you even find out about the Rose? I'm trying to remember that part.
Our mutual friend, Donna Mittendorf, a former board member of the Rose, was one of my colleagues. Our offices were side by side, and she said, Pam, you've got to meet Dorothy. You've got to know about the Rose. So it was our mutual friend, Donna, which just supports what you were saying before. It's all about connection. So had Donna and I not officed next door to one another, if she had not been such a strong, ardent supporter of the Rose, then perhaps after 38 years, I might still not know about it.
Still not know about us, yes. What have you learned since you've been involved with the Rose? What have you learned about the Rose, about this different community that we serve?
What I have learned and what has really touched my heart is I've always been blessed to have insurance, really great insurance, and never had to make the tough decision, do I get a mammogram or do I buy groceries for my family? So that really struck me that it takes dollars to maintain the Rose as a breast cancer center, breast health center of excellence, and to provide that care to anyone, regardless of their ability to pay. So the thought that the model that you created was one where that insured patients and donors to the Rose could provide the same quality health care that insured women are sometimes take for granted.
And I know that, especially through COVID, we've had had to make some really tough decisions. But you're a firm believer. You don't step back.
No.
I'll never forget you saying, "Cutting never works." Is that how you put it?
The way that I've always said it, no organization ever cost cut their way to success.
Right.
You have to invest in success. And one of the things that I'm very proud of, the fact that the senior leadership team and the board were able to come together, make sure that we were investing in the people, because the people are the backbone of the Rose.
Oh,
Without
absolutely.
a quality staff, then we can't deliver the highest quality service, which is expected. So an organization has to invest in continued success. And I'm pleased.
And you didn't let us take our time in doing it. It was like, in 2 years, you will have everybody's salary moved. And we're going, we can't do this, we can't do that. Oh, well, then we did it. And it was just such a joy to be able to bring our employees up to market and, all the things that changed during that time. And I really attribute it to you, Pam.
Well, it was as with everything, it's a team effort. But
But you were in there pushing.
Well,
so you have to. I think that's a part that you will never take enough credit for, and I'm going to fuss at you right here in front of the whole world. But you have to have one board member that's going to stay on track, stay on it, or
thank you.
or there's too many things that are going to distract. We have too many other things that we could go down different paths. But you were firm on that, and you didn't let us stop.
Well,
Thank
thank you. And I think that it's paid dividends for the Rose, because we've been able to retain and grow the talents of some of the team members that we've been blessed to recruit and retain.
And we have some incredibly long-term employees who we might have lost during that time simply because it's been a very different world these last 5 years.
You asked earlier something else that I learned about the Rose. I think that mobile programs are, as with many complex systems, people understand a very little bit about that. It's a very expensive proposition, but it's a life-saving opportunity for so many women, because the number of counties that we now serve is 45. And some of those women are a long drive away from.
Well, half of those counties do not have any kind of mammogram facility. And so for those women especially, they're going to drive into the next county to find even just screening. And nobody wants to drive that far unless you really have to. So I think, yes, you're right. The mobile program, the most expensive service we offer to run, to maintain, but it's probably also the essence of our mission. It is really how you see our mission in action, because we are taking that screening mammogram to the woman. And the women that have sent us the notes and the stories and all of that have been so heartwarming.
One thing that I also love about the Rose is in our board meetings, we always begin with a mission moment. And I think it's another thing that's critical for a board member is to stay centered on what the organization's about. I have said time and again that a nonprofit is a business. It just has mission at heart. So if we keep the mission front and center for board members, and probably a reminder to some of the senior staff that participates in that, I think it's a beautiful way to keep the impact alive.
Right. That is so true. And I don't think we always did that before you came in, and many of the colleagues that you've brought in have really moved us in a different direction.
Well, thank you. That's, the Rose was enormously successful before I even knew that it existed. But I think that another thing that a board member needs to do is try to make a difference and to leave the organization better than they found it. So it's increments. The Rose was rocking and rolling before I ever even knew it existed. But a lot of skills are transferable, and sharing best practices from other organizations, because I've had a chance to be board chair at other organizations and such. There were some things that we were able to say, yes, that might work for the Rose, and others were not applicable for the Rose. But just being perpetually curious. I think that the more that we can know what the opportunities are, because think about how many great opportunities have come from board members, donors, staff. Great ideas can come from anywhere.
That's right. That is so true. And while this won't sound like a lot to some people, this board has been responsible for 8 different initiatives, none that built on the other one, of course. They were all another project that we were doing. And I think the one thing about the board that we have is they're willing, is that the right word? They understand that we're not going to make it on all of them. That if we try, if we explore, and we decide that's not the way we're going to go, you have to have that support to be able to say, because, we've had some really different types of opportunities to look at, but some just are not going to work.
But you know what, Dorothy? Even those that we've explored that didn't work, I think we learned from them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And one in particular that I'll be vague about, there wasn't a connect on the mission of our organization and the one that wanted us. We had one vision of the future, and the other organization had a different vision. So it was the right decision to say, what you're doing is great for you, but it's not right for a joint venture.
Right. You have to have that collaboration. You have to have that point that is common to both. Absolutely. Let's go back to the luncheon. What prompted you to even recommend that? We had other events.
I think that Houston's a luncheon city. It is the arts still very much gala-oriented, but if you look around the Houston landscape, luncheons are a fantastic way to connect a broad group of interested or potentially interested individuals in the mission. Yes, there's a whole lot of effort that the staff puts in to make it a reality. But think about in 2 short hours how much recently the Rose was able to convey to attendees. And I've been in other settings since the luncheon where people remembered the call to action for what might happen with insurance and funding. So it seemed just a natural way to expand visibility for the Rose. It had been very well known in South Houston, but not as well known. In fact, you will probably smile and remember one of our fabulous donors when I first made the introduction. this individual thought, oh, yeah, I support the Rose. And you and I had an offline conversation afterwards, and it was another organization with Rose in the name. Thankfully, we were able to go back to the individual, describe, and there was a fit. But I think that that's one thing that that board members and others sometimes don't realize. A gift, a financial gift, is often something that an individual, foundation, organization wants to do. They just need to find the right connection. And so a lot of people are afraid to ask for money, but a lot of people are very willing to give when the right person asks or the right project comes along. I mean, you remember that, don't you?
Yes, but Pam, you never just ask for money.
What do I do?
I have never heard you say, we need your funding. I've never heard that. I've heard you say things like, I just want you to know more about this organization, or what's another term you use?
Friend raising.
Yes, friend raising. And that's interesting. I've never heard you do that.
Well, we've been on a couple of calls where we've asked for money.
Well, but they were already primed.
But
they knew why we were there. I mean,
but I think that that's the magic, Dorothy. Priming. You don't just look at a list of foundations and know what their giving criteria is, and then just cold call them and say, "We need money." You need to have a warm connection. You need to tell the story. You need to connect the dots so that it's something that they want to add to their giving portfolio.
Right. And that is so important. And a lot of times the CEO can't do that. That's the other part of being a board member or on the advisory board or any of the wonderful boards we have. They can open that door that we can't. Yeah, that is an important point.
It's a team sport.
I don't know if I'd call it a sport, but yes, you can call it that. All right, what is the thing that you are most enjoying now in your retirement after so many years of being out in the business world?
Flexibility. Because we had conversations about it, I considered retiring before I did, and it scared me. I knew too many people who had flunked retirement, and
retirement?
They went back to work.
Yeah.
And I heard people say, when I retire, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to join a book club. I'm going to have lunch with friends. And I thought, I've led an integrated life, so what's in store for me? What I have loved is the flexibility. My dad died in August, and my precious mother is still in the home where I grew up, and so I'm able to go see her for a week at a time rather than a weekend. My children, my son-in-law, and happy birthday, Bates. Today's my 1-year-old's first birthday. So tomorrow morning I'm heading to Washington for 10 days. So the ability to balance my volunteer responsibilities, my other things that I'm doing to spend quality time with family and friends is just amazing. Yeah.
Because work does restrict us in that way, no matter what it does.
But think about it. One other thing, when I am on these trips, and you might recall particularly during COVID, when we would have board meetings, I often chaired board meetings from my parents' house in Arkansas because we were able to do that via Zoom. So having Zoom, I think, was a game changer for the Rose. If something good came out of COVID, it was that, think about, we had near 100% participation in board meetings and committee meetings because we made it easy for people to be engaged.
And you're right, absolutely right. I know so many companies have talked about how they just take advantage of Zoom at every opportunity simply because of the time. the time of not traveling, the time of being able to be involved and not have to make that other time, that other kind of time commitment. So if you had any message to give to our community about the Rose, what would it be?
The message that I would love for everyone to know is everyone has an opportunity to be a lifesaver. You can do it by donating money. You can do it by referring to others who can donate money. You can introduce potential partnerships that might work and do that. But everyone has a chance to be a lifesaver.
It is so true. And if you have your mammogram with us, that is one other way that you're helping us to help that uninsured woman.
Yes.
So I love that line. Everybody has a chance. We may have to steal that.
Go for it.
We will. Oh, Pam, it's been such a delight to have you on our board. You're about to roll off.
I am. How
do you intend to stay involved with us after that?
The Rose is now a part of my DNA. So I won't be in every board meeting and committee meeting like I have for the past several years, but I'll only be a phone call, a text, or an email away. So I want to continue to support the amazing life-saving mission of the Rose.
Oh, and we want you to. I mean, we so appreciate you. Thank you for sharing all these words of wisdom. I think people don't always understand what it means to be on a board, and I think some of the things you've talked about today are really that nitty-gritty, here's what you can do.
If I might,
sure.
One other thing, I loved sharing with our young colleagues to get involved with something that they were passionate about. Being involved as a volunteer or a board member for an organization can allow them to exert some skills, build some skills earlier in a nonprofit setting than they might be able to do in their professional setting. But skills are transferable both ways. So the things that one learns in business life, in families, can be applicable, but particularly with young people who are very interested in creating a robust career path for themselves, having that opportunity to be a part of a nonprofit can really be a game changer.
That is so true. So, great message for our young ones.
Yeah.
Yes. And as you did very early on, yes. And no regrets for any of the work that you've done, right?
I am so blessed. I both in my professional life and in my volunteer life, I have only chosen to affiliate with organizations that I really strongly believe in. And so when you start with the core of the organization,
and you have that
easy.
passion,
And
yes,
you have passion,
yes. That's what keeps us going. That's our lifeblood. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for all the years you've given the Rose and all the advice and support and sometimes pushing us forward.
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of your life-saving work.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.